Hi, I want to talk about training abs without overusing hip flexors or putting strain on the low back. So especially in the case of trying to train to stabilize or manage low back pain, a lot of sit-up variations can make things worse rather than better. And what we have to deal with is the fact that engaging our abs in most of our human movement comes together with engaging hip flexors. So what I mean by that is when we do a sit-up, we think of that as an ab exercise. Obviously it involves some ab strength, but you can watch the muscles of my abdominal wall here shorten as I start to come up. And watch the space between my fingers. This is going to shorten, 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 and now it's pretty much done shortening. And the rest of that movement is hip flexors pulling us up. And you can tell when this happens yourself. You start to sit up, and at some point, partway up, your heels want to float up off the ground. That's the weight of your legs being pulled up by those hip flexors, and the problem with that is that you are now pulling on your spine. That's not wrong, that's the way we're built, that's human movement. However, if I'm trying to isolate and strengthen my abs to get a head start on this ab strength, we need a way to isolate, basically to take these hip flexors out of the equation. So for that, I want to use this AbMat. Place this behind your back, and what we're going to do is put ourselves in a position where my abs can lengthen and shorten. I can do some work here, but the hip flexors are in a position where they don't have very much leverage. So what we don't want to feel here is pulling on the legs, lifting your legs, any kind of engagement from the legs. What I've done is I've put the bottom of my feet together, pulled my feet up near my tailbone as close as I can get them, and put my knees way out to the side. So this awkward kind of butterfly type position. And what this does again is it makes it really difficult to use my hip flexors very well. If I did, I'd have to kick my legs out, which is good because we don't want to. Now what we can do is just focus on the abs. So from here, again, it's pretty useful to put a finger on your rib cage, on the bottom of your ribs, one on the top of your pelvis, so that you can feel this space shorten as you squeeze your abs. Just crunch the abs as hard as you can and come back down. So this is entirely about flexing and extending right here on your abdominal wall. Shorten those muscles, squeeze hard, come back down. And again, we're trying not to pull with the hip flexors. It's easy to tell when you're doing it in this position, and as you'll feel when you try this, you're not going to be able to sit up, right? So forget about the idea of sitting up. We're not sitting up. We're just training ab strength here. So squeeze your abs hard. Good idea to kind of check in here at the top. Make sure that you're not engaged in the hip flexors. If you are, relax that. Sometimes that takes some practice. You'll find, especially if you have chronic low back pain, that often doing what I'm showing is quite difficult. A lot of people struggle to not pull with their legs first and then come up. The problem with that is you're loading your spine and then you're trying to stabilize it. That's too late. Too late. We missed the boat. So again, get those knees out to the side. Focus on just squeezing your tummy tight, as tight as you can. Come back down.